Another episode coming from the great state of Arkansas. I forgot that part. The best state in the union, the only place to be. Every other state is below us. We're the best. Now, today we're going to be talking about the ACC. Um, you probably couldn't tell me what it stands for because they have teams on all coasts. They have teams all over the place. They have teams in the Northeast. They have teams in the Southeast. They have teams in Texas, and they have two teams all the way in California. So, uh, good luck telling me what that A stands for. What do you kind of think about how the ACC expanded? Before we get into our predictions, what do you kind of think about the way they went and grabbed whoever they could get? Kind of, the collapse of the Pac-12. SMU is kind of looking to move up. Um, but what do you think about this conference with those additions and kind of how it played out? How it was a little weird.
Well, man, honestly, it's weird when we start talking about it, and I start talking about like SMU, and I think they're in the Big 12 because it just makes sense for them to be in the Big 12. And you'll catch me and you'll be like, "Hey, man, they're in the ACC." I'm like, "Oh crap, they are in the ACC, aren't they?" It just feels really weird. I mean, the first ones to really add the teams was the SEC, and they added Texas and Oklahoma, which made sense not just for the conference, but also geographically it made sense. Then you had the Big Ten kind of step in, and they added more teams, but they also added teams that were further away. Now, granted, they were all on the West Coast, so it kind of, I guess it made sense. They kind of took over the North and just expanded it. And then the Big 12 was like, okay, we lost two. The Pac-12 is either going to try to buy us out or we're going to try to buy them out. So they got some teams. And then it was kind of like a shark frenzy between the Big 12 and the ACC on who was going to capitalize the most off of the Pac-12, really, because now you have, what is it, the Pac-2
Yeah,
with
they
Oregon
are
and
going to expand next year. It'll be like Boise State, San Diego State, bunch of
yeah.
those teams. Texas State's one of them. So it'll be a
But
group of it'll be a lower Division One FBS conference, but they'll pack the Pac-12 after dark will be a thing again. Um,
And I loved it. It was such a good conference. I don't know if it's going to be as good. Obviously, I don't think it will be just because you're kind of getting. They got rid of Washington and Oregon and UCLA and all those teams. That's just the teams that went to the Big Ten. I mean, obviously they got rid of some other ones that went to the Pac-12 or the Big 12 and the ACC. But I don't know. I mean, Cal being in the ACC, kind of like you said, like I don't know what the ACC stands for anymore. I mean, what did it used to stand for? If you could
it
tell me, a
the
lot of people probably don't know.
the Atlantic for the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. So
That's
I
what it
guess
stands for. Actually, it's the
So
Atlantic Coast Conference. So it's all the teams up that coast. Now Louisville
I mean, I
obviously
guess
doesn't fall
yeah,
under
I
that
guess they
either.
could. I guess A could stand for American Coastal Conference because
Yeah.
Cal's still kind of on the coast. I mean, I don't know. It's really weird, but if you really think about it too, though, man, like it wasn't very long ago that we just had conference changes. We had the Big East and the you had different conferences. So I just feel like this is the first time it's happened in our lifetime, and it is such a big deal.
So let's kind of get into it. Just to preface this, this is a conference that to me is exactly like the conference we talked about last week, except for there's one difference. The Big 12
Yeah, and that's
doesn't have
Clemson.
Clemson. Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
have Clemson. They have besides I would say besides Stanford and maybe Wake Forest and Cal, even to that extent. Cal won 6 or 7 games last year, I think. But those couple of teams, outside of those, everyone's about the same, and then you have Clemson on top. Um,
Yeah.
so obviously, just to start, we're going to talk about the number one team in the conference. And if I had $1 million, I would. I mean, I guess it wouldn't even be worth betting because you'd make no money off this bet. But if if it had good odds, I would bet the house on Clemson. There's no way that Clemson doesn't win this conference. They have one of the best front sevens in football. They have a experienced returning quarterback who quietly had a great year last year. They retooled their receivers. They brought in transfers from the secondary. They brought in one of my favorite DNs from around the country, and Will Helt from Purdue. I'm predicting Clemson to win the national championship. I don't feel like they can win the national championship without winning this conference first. And more importantly, this is just really a clip for TikTok. Clemson is going to beat LSU's ass, belt to ass. Brian Kelly sucks. Garrett Nussmeier sucks. The real Death Valley is in Clemson, South Carolina. Okay, they are gonna run the LSU Tigers out of the building. It's gonna be embarrassing to watch. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna love it personally. I'm even wearing my purple today, not for LSU, for the purple and orange in Clemson, South Carolina. That's who I got finishing number one. I think everyone in the country has them finishing number one. Not much debate on that.
I mean, I agree. I think they're probably going to beat LSU too. I don't have as much hate for LSU as you do, but I will say this for a little history lesson, and you can look it up, and we can clip this on TikTok because I really don't care. From my understanding, you know who was named Death Valley first?
It was probably Clemson. I'm pretty sure Clemson was school first too.
It was Clemson. So, I mean, sounds like LSU can't come up with their own ideas to me. But, I mean, getting back to the ACC, I think you're 1,000% right. I think there is one team that could give Clemson a run for their money, and I would almost put the house on them to win the ACC. And that would be your Miami Hurricanes. I'm just kidding. No, heck no. Miami's probably, they're not. I mean, they're probably in my top 5, but they're not anywhere close to one. I think Clemson's going to win it. Honestly, I just feel like they're kind of like that team that, kind of like you said, like with the Big 12, like everybody under Clemson is just so far away from them that, like, I got ESPN pulled up. So ESPN does a thing where it's like conference title, percent chance to win the conference title. Clemson's at 26% chance, and then under them is Miami at 18%. And then to win 11 games, Clemson's at 36%, pretty much 37%, and Miami's at 17%. So it's like there's a big drop off there, almost double. 1 to 2, and I don't even think Miami's 2. I just think Clemson, they've been building. Dabo's finally figuring out how to work the transfer portal. He's finally figuring out legal NIL, and he's got a quarterback that's rode the system, figured out how they want to play it. I feel like he put trust into Garrett Riley, and I feel like he really, because the first year he was like, no, Garrett Riley's coming to run Clemson's offense. I feel like last year he really was like, you know what? This dude knows what he's doing. He's got it figured out. Let's let him run the offense. And I felt like you've seen that flourish through the offense later on in the season. Obviously, they had some, difficult games and stuff like that, but I feel like it's a big thing that's building onto this year. And I really feel like Dabo's kind of understanding that if it doesn't happen this year, it might not happen again.
Right.
So he's going to be kind of coaching on that, like, not on the hot seat, but he's going to feel like he's on the hot seat. Like, nobody else has him on the hot seat. He just feels that in his soul because he was such a dominant head coach, and now people have kind of pushed him to the wayside. And you can't sit here and tell me that he's not encouraging his team and telling his team, hey, man, they're not even thinking about you. They're not thinking about us. We're not national contenders. We're not any of that. So he's getting his team fired up. I mean, I think they're going to be a really good team this year.
Yeah, I think they're the best team in the country. Number 2 is kind of where the debate could start. I have Louisville finishing second. I like their head coach Brom. I like their schedule a lot. They get Clemson at home on a Friday, So if anyone's going to beat Clemson, it's going to have to be a weird situation to me in that conference. And outside of that, Louisville is they've had decent defenses in the past. They're bringing in a transfer quarterback in Miller Moss. And I just think that they're going to be a good team, and I just think it's going to be a year where this 2 through I'm going to say 8 is going to be jam packed, and who knows who you're going to see in Charlotte. But I have the Louisville Cardinals. ESPN has Miami. I've seen some other people talking about Georgia Tech, which Georgia Tech I do think is going to be good. But I have Louisville to an extent kind of edging them out. And like I was talking about with Louisville's schedule earlier, like they do get Clemson early, but they also their non-conference isn't much. They catch Pitt early in the year on the road, so that one could be a rough one. They go on the road to Miami in October. Miami's not a crazy place to play. They get Cal at home, so that eliminates that weird cross-country road trip. They do go to SMU, which could be a weird one. But outside of that, like Miami and Clemson, I guess, I don't see a lot of losable games for them in conference. Their non-conference isn't tough either. They won't. I mean, they play Kentucky. I think Kentucky's probably one of the worst teams in the country. So I just see the talent that they have, and the way that their schedule lines up. I just don't see Louisville slipping very much, especially if they can take care of business against Miami. I think they could end the year with one conference loss if they beat Miami. Who do you have finishing 2?
Man, it just feels so weird saying this because, like, obviously, when we did the breakdown on the ACC, I was really high on SMU. And I mean, I still am high on SMU. I feel like they're my 3rd team. Personally, it's just, dude, it's something about that. Like, they just seem like one of those year in and year out Cinderella stories. I really like Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really like Georgia Tech. They have the 2nd most returning production in the ACC, behind Clemson. They have 68% on offense, 62 on defense. They have 125 starting reps. I mean, they're 18th in the country in starting production, returning. Their schedule's not very hard. That's the whole thing. I think we're going to figure out a lot about them. I wouldn't say a lot, but like these teams are very comparable. They got to play Colorado at night on August 29th. So I feel like that's going to tell us a lot. And then they play a nobody. And then 3rd week of the season, they play Clemson, which I don't feel like if they catch Clemson early or if they catch Clemson late, I don't feel like they would be able to beat Clemson straight up. I feel like them catching Clemson in week 3, is that week 3? Yeah, it's week 3. I feel like them catching Clemson in week 3 could really help them because Clemson's got that big game in week 1, which is going to be LSU. And then they play Troy, which Clemson's probably going to skate through Troy. And then they got to go to Georgia Tech. So it's kind of like, I feel like that's a big time slip up game for Clemson. And it seems like Clemson has one every single year. And other than that, Georgia Tech doesn't really play anybody. I mean, it's kind of like the Big 12, like we talked about last week. Like they play Virginia Tech, they play Duke, they play Syracuse, they play, North Carolina State. But I have this, like, it's something about Haynes King, man. Ever since I watched him last year when they played Georgia, and it just seemed like that dude would not stop fighting for extra yards, or they would hand it off, and then throw the ball. It's just like one of those Navy, Army style offenses that like you don't see all the time. So it's so hard to prepare for. And like I said, I mean, their 2 hardest games they play are Clemson, and then they play Georgia, which Georgia's at home. And they play Pitt, too, which I do like Pitt, but it's at home, too. So I don't feel like there's any team out there that I look on the schedule, and I'm just like, there's not a scenario where Georgia Tech could beat them. There's not. I don't see a game on there. I mean, I guess you could throw me Clemson, but it's a home game. So there's always a way. And you have Georgia on the schedule. It's a home game. There's always a way. They took them to, double or triple overtime, 44-42 last year at Georgia. I mean, so I would say I would say them. They're returning a lot. Like I said, their defense was secretly really good last year.
No, it was,
I
and
mean,
they played very, very tough.
yeah, I mean, so from the beginning of the year last year, um, sorry, I scrolled too far up. So from the beginning of the year last year, they gave up 31 points to Syracuse, which in today's age in college football, like that's not a lot. Like it's not good to give up 31 points, but if you remember, Syracuse last year was slinging the ball around the field. I mean, they were a pretty dynamic offense. They gave up 14 to Duke. They gave up 34 to North Carolina, so that's not good. And they only gave up 31 to Notre Dame. So, I mean, their defense. I'm not like listen. When I'm saying all this, I'm not saying that there's some world beater defense that's like top 10. But for Georgia Tech's, status, it is a good defense, and I feel like in the ACC, it's a comparable enough defense by the style of offense that they run, where it's run it down your throat, run it down your throat, run it down your throat, throw it, and see if it goes big. I feel like that for that style of offense, that defense works for them, and that's why I have them finishing second in the conference.
And I like Georgia Tech too. One thing that this is not even related to anything about them this upcoming season, but did you see that they bought rings? Which okay, and it's not that them buying rings is a problem because everyone does that.
Yeah,
Everybody does that.
yeah,
It's the fact that they posted it on social media and they had like Florida State on there. Florida State won 2 games last year. You know, like I'm not saying that it has any effect on them this year. I'm just
yeah,
saying to me that breeds softness. And that might be just, me being a little toxic. I don't want my team celebrating a win over a 2-win team. I don't care if it was Alabama, 2-win Alabama. You better not. I don't want to see anyone celebrating that. You're supposed to win that game. But
I
that's
mean,
me complaining.
no, I definitely see where it's coming from. It definitely is like for rated PG version, like wussy energy, I guess you could say. Like I don't like it either, but maybe it's one of those things. I try to play devil's advocate. Maybe it's one of those things where like they have been bad for so long, and they finally got a team that was halfway decent, and they're just like, you know what, we're going to give these kids something to look forward to, and maybe it brought them back. Maybe it brought a few of those kids back that wwere thinking about going to the draft. I mean, who knows? Maybe Arkansas should do it.
Arkansas does do it. They just don't post it on Instagram. But like my biggest problem with it is, what did Georgia Tech really have to ride home about last year? Like last year, their season. This is how we saw it start. They beat Florida State, right? They beat them it was in Dublin.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they lost the very next week. They had a very up and down season. They almost beat Georgia. Like you almost had a cool thing, Like,
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
I just think.
I mean,
They
did beat Miami.
Well, yeah, that's true. They beat who I thought should have won the Heisman. That's the one that they should have celebrated. You're right. Okay. My foot.
Maybe they just put the wrong. Maybe they just put the wrong Florida team on there.
No, I think they put Miami on the ring too. I'm pretty sure. I couldn't remember.
See, like, I don't mind Miami being on there.
Yeah, but Miami won 10 games last year. Florida State.
But then they also went out and lost their bowl game by double digits. So, so it's like I see what you're saying.
That's ring season for me.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. I mean, but here's the thing: in 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 2 years from now, when they take kids in for recruiting and they're showing them the trophy case, that ring that's on there, all those kids aren't going to know, like, oh, they got boat raced by Notre Dame, or they barely beat a Florida State. They're just going to see Florida State and go, oh crap, they beat Florida State. They're not going to remember Florida State was dog water last year.
They lost the Birmingham Bowl.
They did to old Mexican Manziel.
Oh yeah, Vanderbilt. That's right. They did lose to Vanderbilt, didn't they?
Yeah.
Beat Miami.
Yeah, Vanderbilt was going on a tear last year. Yep.
Best team in the country. You heard it. You heard it from Diego Pavia. Anyways, I got second. I got Louis. Or no, I already talked about Louisville. Third, I do have SMU third, and I just think it's based on their coach. The last 2 years has won 10 games. They're returning Kevin Jennings, and yeah, the last thing we saw of Kevin Jennings was he played a. I don't care. I know they almost came back and won that ACC conference championship game. Kevin Jennings did not play good in the first 3 quarters of that game, and then he went and he kind of had a little meltdown in Happy Valley playing Penn State. So, but Kevin Jennings had a great year. They made a lot more uh, big plays generally than their opponents. They had good third down percentages, so things that you see good teams do. And I mean, at the end of the day, they went 11-1 in the regular season. So I don't really think that there's a way that you can look at this team with a returning quarterback, returning head coach. They are returning a bunch of all conference players and not have them somewhere in the top 5. And and I haven't looked at their schedule yet, but that pick was just based off of kind of what we've already seen them do. I'm looking at their schedule now. The problems they have is they do play my number 1 and number 2 teams in the conference. They also play Miami in the regular or in the non-con. They don't really play anyone crazy to me. They should win all their non-conference games, besides maybe TCU. Um, they have. I mean, I don't know. Like, to me, they're not playing North Carolina, who I think is yet to be seen, but could be a good team. They're not playing. Who was I just about to talk about? NC State, was that who it was? Yeah, they don't play NC State, who I think will be improved. Instead of playing those games, they're playing a Syracuse team that I think is going to regress. They're playing Stanford, who I think is going to be terrible. They're playing Wake Forest, who I think is going to be terrible. They do have to go across the country, but they're still playing Cal. And then they played Boston College, who lost a lot of players from last year's team and only won 7 games anyways. So it's not that I think that they are a good football team. Um, they have a tougher schedule this year, so I expect them to fall back a little bit, and I could see them maybe finishing even lower than that, maybe 5th or 6th. But right now, I do have them at 3. Who do you have at in that little bunch right there? 2, 3, 4.
So my second team was obviously Georgia Tech. My third team, and this is where I start to kind of like, you could put anybody from 3 to 5, and I'm gonna be like, you know what? Like, I could see that argument. Um, I'm not gonna talk about. So when I say that, so my 3 to 5s are like 3A, 3B, 3C. I feel like my third A would probably be SMU. I really like that quarterback. I really like their head coach, Rhett Lashley. Um, it, and then I really like Pitt, man. Like, and a lot of people are sleeping on Pitt, but I don't. I just feel like they have something there that, like, not enough people are talking about, because a lot of their players kind of slide under the radar. But they didn't finish. They didn't finish bad last year. I think they finished like 7-6, which isn't great, but it's not horrible. And a lot of their games are close. I feel like we just talked about them like 2 months ago in the ACC recap, but like a lot of their games were very close, and they're returning. Um, they're returning. What is it? I think it's like they're fourth most in the conference. 66% on offense, 61% on defense. So, I mean, they're returning more than half their starting offense and defense. I think I talked about them in the, like, what team, like, sleeper teams, I guess you could say, is what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. But I'm really high on them. I wouldn't say, like I said, I don't think they're going to win or anything, but I feel like at the end of the season, you can look and be like, dang, Pitt is, 8-2, and they got to win out, and they can make it to the college football playoffs. Now, do I think that's going to happen? Probably not, but I feel like they could finish higher in the conference than a lot of people are expecting them to, because they're veteran laden, and I really like their coach, and I feel like they're returning a bunch. they have enough big name players to make them relevant, but not big name players to keep them like, oh crap, so and so for Pitt went for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, or something like that. I don't feel like they have a player that's going to do that, but I feel like they have enough people on their team returning. Their coach is good enough. I feel like their schedules. I wouldn't say that their schedule's hard. I'm trying to get it pulled up right now. I wouldn't say that their schedule's hard, but I also wouldn't say that it's easy, if that makes sense. They start off with 2 cupcake games, and then they go to West Virginia, but it's a 2 o'clock game, a 2:30 game, and then they host Louisville at home, which I would say I would put Louisville in that 5, 6, 7 range. They could be as good as 4, but they could be as bad as 7. They have Louisville at home. They have to go to Florida State. I think Florida State's okay. They have to go to Georgia Tech. They have Notre Dame, which that's not a conference game, and then they have Miami at home. Other than that, they really don't. So their 2 hardest games come at the end of the season, and that's Notre Dame and Miami, I think. You have Louisville, so I guess those are the 3 hardest games, but they're all split up, and they have a bye in between West Virginia and Louisville. So they're going to be hosting Louisville at home. They very well could be 3-0 coming off of a bye week. Like, that sets up well for Pitt.
Mm-hmm. And I can agree with that. Pat Narduzzi's a good coach.
Yeah.
And they don't play Clemson. That's a big deal. For basically everyone on Clemson's conference schedule, Clemson's an automatic conference loss. So
yeah,
2 of their tougher games
and
are out of conference.
And here's the thing too. So on ESPN, like I was saying earlier, they have the percentage to win the title. So your top 3 are Clemson, Miami, SMU. SMU's at 10%. And then you go to Louisville, which is at 8%. And then you have Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech, NC State, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. They're all within 3 to 4. 3.7 all the way down to 4.7 all the way down to 3.2. So it's like, I know that's like a lot of analytics and breaking down a lot of numbers, and obviously that's percentages. But what I'm getting at is, like, there's really only 2 teams that ESPN thinks has a decent chance to win, and everybody else is in the same category.
Well, and I have this team also kind of in that same category that I'm going to talk about next. I know we've crap talked them a lot, and we've been down on them, and we've kind of teased their fans for thinking they're going to win the national championship, and 10 wins is a bad season. But I have Miami finishing in that range, in that 4 to 5 range.
Yeah.
I have Georgia Tech finishing 4, and then I have Miami finishing 5. I just think everything – okay, Miami does have talent, don't get me wrong. But we've seen them have a lot of talent offensively last year. And at the beginning of the year, they had a pretty good-looking defense. As the end of the year rolled on, their defense kind of fell off. I do personally like Mario Cristobal. I do think he's a good head coach. And I do think they're building. But the thing is I don't think Carson Beck is the guy. I think they lost weapons from last year's team. And at the end of the day, you lost the number 1 overall draft pick to the NFL. You lost Cam Ward.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a world where Carson Beck steps in and just emulates what Cam Ward did. And I don't think Cam Ward would have won 10 games with the schedule they're going to play, because it's a tough one. First week of the year, they play Notre Dame at home, fresh off a national championship appearance, fresh off of their strengths are what you can't do. They play good defense and they run the ball. Miami couldn't stop the run last year, and their offense was like boom, 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 and that's what kept them in a lot of games. If Notre Dame controls that game, you're not winning. I don't care if you played it in the middle of the desert or if you played it in Antarctica. Notre Dame is built to win that game against you. A couple weeks later, they play Florida.
Yeah.
I think Florida's really improved. I think Florida's a better football team. I think Florida has more going for them. I think they lose that game. Then they go to Florida State the week after that. So they play Florida in Miami, and then they flip and they go to Tallahassee and they play their next biggest rival in Florida State. That's another game that's a team improving. I think Miami will wind up winning that game. but I do think Florida State's improved, and that's a back-to-back stretch that if you do lose focus and you get down, or if you do lose that Florida game and then you get down, you could implode and lose to Florida State. And then after that, they play my number 2 team in the conference and they host Louisville. So like that's a 3-week stretch of just, to me, a gauntlet. Like that's a little bit of a gauntlet.
Well, here's my thing too, Mason. So you're talking about Florida State. I know a lot of people aren't high on Florida State, but here's their schedule before they play Miami. They host Alabama, which I'm not going to say it's a loss, but it's probably going to be a loss. I'm not as high on Alabama as a lot of people are, but we'll mark it as a loss. And then they have a nobody. Then they play Kent State. Then they play the University of Virginia. And then they play Miami. Here's my thing. Watch out if Florida State is, 1-3 hosting Miami. If that's a night game, if you remember last year, Carson Beck did not look good in big moments. When the lights were the brightest, he seemed like he crapped himself. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that's one of those games, me and you've talked about it, like, we're not Florida State fans, but we want to go to Florida State game.
Yeah.
Like a night game, Florida State, like anybody would be dumb if they said, no, I don't really care about going to that game. So watch out because Miami's not returning enough production on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball to not rely on Carson Beck to be good. Because really, if you think about it, they relied on Cam Ward to be what he was last year. And I don't feel like Carson Beck is anywhere close to that, but they're not returning enough on offense or defense to stand up to that. They're actually only returning 50% on offense and 62% on defense. They're hardly returning anything. They're 60th in the country in returning production. And I don't really think they didn't add too many people in the transfer portal that you're just like, oh my gosh, like Penn State did. And the receiver from Syracuse. Like Miami didn't do that.
Well, where they
actually
was on their defense. It was in their secondary mainly.
Yeah.
So I think their defense is going to be improved from last year, but their defense was atrocious last year. If you didn't improve it, then you would have no shot at winning any of these games. But their schedule doesn't even get in. I mean, it gets easier, but it's not even that easy even still. Because, okay, so after that Louisville game, which is, I think if Louisville wins that game, Louisville's going to Charlotte. And I think Louisville will win that game. I think Louisville is going to be a better team this year. You get Stanford at home, but then you got to go to SMU, who's going to be a good football team. I said Syracuse is gonna regress, but Syracuse beat Miami last year. They play Syracuse the week after that, and then they host NC State, who's always a gritty team that makes plays. They go to Virginia Tech in November, and this is really important right here. November. Do you know how cold it is in Virginia in November?
Yeah.
Real cold, okay? And then the next week they go to Pittsburgh in November. You're going from Miami to a sub-freezing climate, you know? I just don't think that spells good for the Hurricanes. And it's not that I think they're a bad team. I don't think Mario Cristobal is doing a bad job. I just think natural regression, and your schedule is tougher than it was last year, whether you want to admit it or not. I think this is like an 8-4 football team.
I just don't see them being that good, honestly. I mean, I think they're going to be okay. It's just going to be – it seems like their schedule, like you said, it's going to seem like one of those schedules where every time they get something rolling, they play a better team than what they are, and they really have to be superior coaching-wise to those teams. And I do like Mario Cristobal, but I don't think he's like a top-tier level head coach. Personally, I mean, that's just me.
I do think he's an elite head coach. I just think that Carson Beck's not an elite quarterback, and I don't think your defense is elite. That's just simple.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like an elite head coach can make it happen without an elite quarterback. And I don't feel like
I don't think Ryan Day would win 10 games with this team. You know what I'm like? I don't think Marcus
Yeah.
Freeman would win 10 games with this team. I don't think Kirby would win 10 games with this team. It's just I don't think it's a very good team.
No, I mean, I definitely see what you're saying. I think I just say he's not an elite coach because I haven't seen it.
Right.
Like he
Well, I
went.
mean,
Here's
he may have faltered a lot. You're right. You are right about that. He has
yeah, and
underperformed.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like you have arguably the best quarterback. How do I want to say this? Because a lot of people are going to take this out of context. You had arguably the best quarterback highlight reel we've seen since Lamar.
Jaden Daniels probably. Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
about him and
you're right.
Jaden Daniels.
I forgot about him and Jaden Daniels were about the same. I forgot about Jaden Daniels. No, because Jaden Daniels ran too. That's what. Yeah, Jaden Daniels was a freak show, and so was Cam Ward.
I saw it live
but
in front of my face, is why I can remember it so well.
Yeah. But like, and he still lost 2 games, and it wasn't like he lost 2 games to like, great teams. No, he lost 2 games to people he should have not lost 2 games to. Like, I liked Georgia Tech last year, but like, Miami should have not lost to Georgia Tech.
No, they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have lost to Syracuse either.
No, so that's why I'm like, I just can't write him off as an elite coach because I don't see an elite coach losing those games. Like, yes, you're right. Would Marcus Freeman or Kirby Smart or Ryan Day win 10 games with the roster they have this year? No, probably not. But I don't think, can't say that about Marcus Freeman. I couldn't see Kirby Smart or Ryan Day losing games to Syracuse and Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman loses games to NIU.
Now, Ryan Day has lost to Michigan, but that's like rivalry. There's a little bit of voodoo that goes into that. So I'm going to let him write that one off.
Kirby's lost at South Carolina, and these are just memorable ones that Kirby's lost. Kirby's lost at South Carolina, and I'm pretty sure he lost to Missouri one time early at Georgia. So,
I mean, he probably did. Yeah, but that's early, and I guess this is still early too, but that's what I mean. Like, early on, Kirby wasn't viewed as like an elite coach. So I personally can't view Mario Cristobal as an elite coach.
So who do you have finishing? Where do you have Miami finishing? That's I guess my next question.
And what do you have
that's
tough because it's really weird.
Total as?
Let me pull up their schedule. I would say I have Miami. I got the conference right here. I would say I have Miami, Clemson, Georgia Tech, SMU, Louisville, Pitt, North Carolina. I would say in that like 7 to 9 range.
Do you think North Carolina is going to be better than them?
I don't know, man. Listen. So, hang on. Before I get off on that tangent, because I'm about to get clipped up and I don't care. Let me go to Miami's schedule. Okay, so loss, win, loss, win. So that's 2 losses, 3 losses, 4 losses. Give them 1 more. I say I have them losing 5 games.
That's a bad year.
That would be 2 Notre Dame, 2 Florida, 2 Louisville, 2 SMU, and then I feel like they're going to drop 1 more between Syracuse, North Carolina, or NC State, Pitt, and Florida State. I feel like they're going to drop 1 of those.
And I could see that, but I do think that they're going to want to win in. I have them at like 8-4, 9-3.
Yeah, so maybe. I mean, we're really only 1 game off.
I think their pivot games really is going to be that week 4 game against Florida. I think Florida's going to win. I think Florida's a better team.
Yeah.
If Miami wins that game, and if they beat Louisville and they beat SMU, they could win 10 games, but that's a lot of ifs to me. Like,
that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm at.
If I think it's more of they're gonna. I don't know. Week 1, if they beat Notre Dame week 1, then I'll take everything back.
Yeah.
But
So
I just think
the
so.
reason I have North Carolina finishing higher than them, I really like Bill Belichick. I feel like he's kind of escaped all that 27-year-old Playboy model drama that he had going on. He's still dating her, but it's not in the media. I really like his quarterback. He's got his son as his defensive coordinator, which was the defensive coordinator over Washington and kind of going to run his style. I mean, it's father and son. They're going to know how to click up. Bill Belichick knows how to get people ready for games, and their schedule is not that hard. They start out with a tough game, and I feel like we're really going to learn a lot about North Carolina in this game. It's at home, luckily. It's versus TCU, and then they play Charlotte, and then they play Richmond, I think, maybe. Yeah, Richmond. Sorry. They play TCU, Charlotte, Richmond, UCF, and then they have Clemson, but it's at home. And then they have to go to Cal. That's going to be rough because that's a long travel. Um, I want to say if it's a bye week, that'll help. October 4th is when they play Clemson, and then they play Cal October 17th. So they have a bye week. So I could see Bill Belichick saying screw it and flying out to Cal early and getting that time change out of the way, practicing and doing all that if they can. I don't really know how all that works in college football with the traveling all the way across the United States.
It's
So then
all
they go
one
to
school, I think.
yeah. So they play Clemson. So that's their one tough game. I don't see another team on the schedule besides Clemson that I'm like, oh yeah, they could definitely lose that game, like Miami has. So, can you give me a 1,000%? Or I wouldn't say 1,000%. Could you give me a 70% chance, 80% chance that North Carolina would lose this game? TCU,
No,
Charlotte, no. Richmond, no. UCF,
no,
Clemson, yes.
yeah,
Cal, no.
no. Well, I'm gonna say no
I
as
don't know.
well.
Devin Brown's kind of dirty out there.
Yeah, he's all right.
Okay, so that's a no. And then you got Virginia.
No,
No. At Syracuse at 6:30,
no.
maybe 70%, 60%.
I'm gonna say
Stanford,
that's a coin
no.
flip game. I'll say that's a coin flip game.
Syracuse, yeah.
Yeah,
Stanford, no.
no.
Wake Forest, no. Duke, no. North Carolina State, no. Like that's what I'm
I would
saying. They
say
don't.
North Carolina State's probably a better football team. Um, North Carolina State's been better than North Carolina for the last couple of years. I would say yeah on that.
Yeah, and it's at North Carolina State, so that's tough. So what is that? 2 games that they could lose?
Right, and they'll probably drop the ACC. Like they're gonna drop one that it doesn't make
Yeah,
any
for
sense.
sure.
They might lose to Wake Forest, and you'd be like, North Carolina sucks, and then they might win out. That's just the ACC's
Yeah,
weird
it's
like that.
that's what I mean. But like that's why I think now I wouldn't go bet my house that North Carolina finishes better in the conference than Miami. But like if you ask me right now to give my top 7 teams in the ACC, yeah, I would go Clemson 1, Georgia Tech 2, SMU 3, um, SMU 3, Louisville 4. Or no, yeah, Louisville 4, Pitt 5, um, Pitt 5, Florida State 6, North Carolina 7, Miami 8.
Okay, so mine is I got Clemson, Louisville, SMU, Georgia Tech, Miami. I got NC State, Florida State, Pitt, North Carolina, and then rounding out my top 10 is Virginia Tech. But I think Boston College could also finish that. I like Bill O'Brien. I don't like him as a GM, because he traded DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson in 2017. But as a
Yeah.
coach, he's a good coach. Uh, I like Bill O'Brien. He's bringing over a quarterback from Alabama that he recruited. They won 7 games last year, kind of quietly. Um, I do think Boston College could kind of stay on the same course, but that's kind of all I got for my top 10. I think it's going to be an interesting watch. The ACC will be just because you got a lot of storylines. Mike Norvell's playing for his job this year. Bill Belichick's in the
Yep.
conference. I think the best team in the country is in that conference. Miami, they think that they're Alabama and they're not. There's just a lot of interesting things. Fran Brown's over there at Syracuse, and kind of see how his second year goes. Pat Narduzzi, Pitt, also Pitt, West Virginia, early on. That's one of my favorite games to watch. The backyard brawl.
Yep.
I love Pitt in West Virginia. I'm really excited for that game. If you had to give a game that you're looking forward to most out of the ACC, it doesn't have to be an in-conference game. It just one team has to be an ACC team. What are you kind of thinking? Mine's the backyard brawl personally. Clemson LSU is another good one. Florida State Alabama is another really, really good one.
I think it would be Florida State Alabama, just because I feel like Alabama's kind of going into that thinking like they've kind of already won, and Florida State's going into that, and their quarterback has been chirping a lot, and I just feel like there's going to be a lot of media attention around that game. That's one for me. The next one for me would probably be Miami, Florida, because I'm really big on DJ Lagway. I know we're not talking about the ACC or SEC, but dude, it kind of worries me that DJ Lagway's been dealing with injuries.
Lower
this is
injury,
2. Yeah. Well, this and then last year, he was out for a couple of games because he had a shoulder injury. So, is he injury prone or is he just getting hurt?
I just
if
think
that
to a
makes
certain
sense.
extent, he has to
I know
change his
we're not going to
baseball.
get too. Yeah, and we're not going to get too deep into it. We'll probably talk about it in the next 2 weeks. Mason,
next
we got a
week.
little.
Probably next week we'll
Yeah.
probably do the SEC.
Yeah, I think we should end with the best conference, anyways. Hey, we are at. Usually we go for about an hour. We're at 47 minutes. Do you want to talk about kind of our outlook once season, like for the next couple of weeks, since we are getting so close to season?
So kind of this is what I'm expecting. This is subject to change, but this is kind of where I'm looking at it from. Next week we're going to talk about the SEC. We're going to kind of go through. We're probably going to go a little bit longer on that episode, just because it is similar.
It's a bigger conference,
but it's a bigger conference, and there's just more teams that could win the conference. And then we're going to talk about the Big Ten. Same thing as the SEC. It's going to be a little bit longer of an episode. That'll put us at August 14th. So August 21st will be a week away from week 0, right? Or will we be a couple days from week 0?
Week 0. So next week is the SEC, which is, hang on, let me pull my calendar up. Or do you have yours up already?
Well, next week would be August 7th.
8th. Yeah, 7th is when we're doing it. And then the week after that would be the 14th.
Okay, yes.
Or something like that.
So on the 21st will be week 0.
Yeah, so 21st is week 0. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure.
Is on the 21st, that'll be a Thursday. On the 21st of August, we'll probably do a week 0 preview show. We're going to talk about Kansas State, Iowa State. We're going to talk about whatever other games are going on. I guess I haven't really.
You got Idaho State versus UNLV, which is going to be interesting. I feel like, I just like UNLV. I feel like they're kind of Yep.
Yeah, they got. They are exciting. They could win the Mountain West. I doubt it. I think Boise State still runs that conference. But
and then you got
them a little bit.
You got Frisco State versus Kansas, and then you got Sam Houston versus Western Kentucky, and then you got Stanford versus Hawaii. So it's going to be a lot of we're going to talk about every game. We're obviously going to talk about Kansas State and Iowa State the most, but it's just going to be one of those things where it's we finally have college football.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We have camp right now going on. Everybody's suiting up, doing all that. and if most of you don't know, you have NFL football going on right now. It's the Hall of Fame game. It doesn't matter. This isn't an NFL show. As long as we didn't talk about it. Am I going to watch the highlights? Hell yeah, I am, because it's freaking football. You know what I mean? I'm tired of watching highlights and like memories from last year of the big wins that Ohio State had. So, like, we're obviously going to talk about all the games in week 0. But, like, I feel like I could go ahead and talk about this too, because we've kind of talked about it enough. Like, or you can go ahead and talk about it. So, after that Thursday game, we're going to preview week 0. What are we going to do a recap show on that Sunday, or do you want to save that for like week 1?
I think we could do a small recap on, because really at the end of the day, the only game that has any implications from the entire week 0 slate is Iowa State, Kansas State. We could just do a regular show on week 1 on Thursday, a Thursday preview show. We can loop that into our preview show, just that reaction, and then we'll start the Sunday after week 1, which we'll have to do it before the LSU Clemson game, but we'll do a Sunday, or, well, I don't know. I don't know how we'll do that, because that is a weird week. Sunday has that LSU,
Well, no.
or a Sunday Florida State Bama. One of those games is on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I got it right here. Sunday. No, actually, Sunday you have Virginia Tech versus South Carolina and Notre Dame versus Miami.
Oof.
Yeah, and then Monday, because you know it's Labor Day, you have TCU versus North Carolina at 7:00.
What we'll probably do then is we'll just do a Monday reaction show. Just for week 1, we'll do a Monday reaction show, and then we'll flip around and do a Thursday. Well, unless you're doing something Monday. Well, I don't know. We'll figure that out. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, and this isn't set in stone. I was just talking about, like, we're going to do the recap show. We're going to do the reaction show. And I was mainly kind of getting into that just to tell people to turn on your bell notifications, especially with college football going on and about to come up. Like, watch us when you're cooking breakfast before, college football game day comes on, because we're always going to have something that we're talking about. But no, I mean, I'm excited. That's the main reason I wanted to talk about it, because I'm just excited about college football. We're literally like 2 weeks away, and it's going to fly by faster than you think. A little insight on what we are going to talk about in season. We're not going to talk about Georgia State versus Ole Miss. We're not going to talk about that game. Unless somebody in the comments asks about it, we'll talk about it. We're not going to talk about Arkansas Pine Bluff versus Texas Tech, unless somebody in the comments asks about it. So ask about it. If you want something to be talked about, ask about it. Now, obviously, you're not going to have to ask about LSU Clemson. We're going to talk about it. You're not going to have to ask about Texas Ohio State. We're going to talk about it. We're probably going to end up talking about the Hogs game every week too, just because, like, it's relevant to Mason. But, like, we're not going to talk
about everybody. Damn it! It's relevant to everybody.
I mean, yeah, sure. But what I'm getting at is, like, we're not going to talk about these no-name games unless y'all bring it up. Don't be scared to comment. Don't be scared to ask us stuff in the live, because we see it. Mason sees it, and he reads it out loud, and we talk about it. So feel free to talk and ask questions. And if you want something talked about, even if it's about a player, hey, how do you feel like so-and-so played this week? I have an iPad in front of me every show. I will look it up, and we'll talk about it. We'll go for 3 hours if you ask questions and want us to. So Darren's season, don't be scared to ask questions.
3 hours. Y'all better be donating some money if we go 3 hours. I ain't working for free very much longer, guys. No, honestly, what I'm most excited about for this whole thing is to really get into the reaction shows. The prediction shows are what they are. Predictions are just meant for y'all to tell me I'm dumb, or for me to tell y'all that I think y'all are dumb. That's all it's about.
For sure. For sure.
The reaction shows are what I'm really excited about, to talk about what I think. And I don't really care to react to if Ole Miss beats Mercer by 150 points and someone wants to hear us talk about that, I'll talk about it. But I'm not going to go into a show and be like, Justin, Ole Miss scored 150 points on Mercer. Whew. You know, like it's just those things don't matter to me. I'm really
I
excited
agree.
for conference play. All this non-conference stuff is whatever. It matters. Ohio State, Texas matters, but at the end of the day, that game really doesn't matter that much because whoever wins could win out and still go to the or whoever loses could still win the rest of their games and go to the national
Yeah.
championship, and nobody would bat an eye.
I know.
So-
I just wish all conferences played non-conference games, and then we would get more of them.
I wish everyone played 8 good conference games instead of getting to play UCLA and Illinois State, basically, and
Mississippi
Northwestern
State,
and Rutgers, and
Vanderbilt, and Arkansas,
Wisconsin,
Missouri,
and Minnesota, and Iowa. Oh, we got to go to Iowa and watch their punter punt 10 times. Oh no!
Hey, that's one more loss that we're gaining that y'all are missing out on.
That's
so.
Big Ten football, baby. The Iowa punter should be an All-American every year. That's the best.
1,000% he should. Hey, I guarantee you, if they fake a punt, they won't miss out on it.
If they fake a punt off.
No, I said it. If they fake a fair catch.
Oh, no, they have plenty of opportunities too, though. And also, we don't talk about that because that was Chad Morris. By the way, that was Jeff Long, not Jeff Long. Jeff Long was gone. That was some ladies' house. We don't talk about that. Okay.
Oh man.
Dark times.
All right.
Dark times. But all right, go Michigan, go
I'm
Blue.
good.
I'll see y'all next week.
Yes, sir. Like and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel, guys. Really.
Tell us we're dumb. Have a good evening, guys.